Washington initially planned to retire after his first term. While many Americans could not imagine anyone else taking his place. After nearly 4 years as president, and dealing with the infighting in his own cabinet and with partisan critics, Washington showed little enthusiasm in running for a second term. While Martha also wanted him not to run, James Madison urged him not to retire, that his absence would only allow the dangerous political rift in his cabinet and the House to worsen. Jefferson also pleaded with him not to retire and agreed to drop his attacks on Hamilton, or he would also retire if Washington did. Hamilton maintained that Washington's absence would be deplored as the greatest evil to the country at this time. Washington's close nephew George Augustin Washington, his manager at Mount Vernon, was critically ill and had to be replaced, further increasing Washington's desire to retire and return to Mount Vernon. When the election of 1792 neared, Washington did not publicly announce his presidential candidacy. Still, he silently consented to run to prevent a further political personal rift in his cabinet. The Electoral College unanimously elected him president on February 13, 1793, and John Adams as vice president by a vote of 77 to 50. Washington, with nominal fanfare, arrived alone at his inauguration in his carriage, sworn into office by Associate Justice William Cushing on March 4, 1793, in the Senate Chamber of Congress Hall in Philadelphia. Washington gave a brief address and then immediately retired to his Philadelphia presidential house, weary of office and in poor health. On April 22, 1793, during the French Revolution, Washington issued his famous Neutrality Proclamation and was resolved to pursue a conduct friendly and impartial toward the belligerent powers, while he warned Americans not to intervene in the international conflict. Although Washington recognized France's revolutionary government, he would eventually ask French Minister to the United States Edmund Charles Jennett be recalled over the Citizen Jennett affair. Jennett was a diplomatic troublemaker who was openly hostile toward Washington's neutrality policy. He procured 4 American ships as privateers to strike at Spanish forces, British allies, in Florida while organizing militias to strike at other British possessions. However, his efforts failed to draw America into the foreign campaigns during Washington's presidency. On July 31, 1793, Jefferson submitted his resignation from Washington's cabinet. Washington signed the Naval Act of 1794 and commissioned the first 6 federal frigates to combat Barbary pirates. In January 1795, Hamilton, who desired more income for his family, resigned from office and was replaced by Washington appointment Oliver Wolcott, Jr. Washington and Hamilton remained friends. However, Washington's relationship with his Secretary of War Henry Knox deteriorated. Knox resigned from office due to a rumor that he profited from contracts for the construction of U.S. frigates. In the final months of his presidency, Washington was assailed by his political foes and a partisan press who accused him of being ambitious and greedy. While he argued that he had taken no salary during the war and had risked his life in battle, he regarded the press as a disuniting, diabolical force of falsehoods, sentiments that he expressed in his farewell address. At the end of his second term, Washington retired for personal and political reasons. Dismayed with personal attacks, and to ensure that a truly contested presidential election could be held, he did not feel bound to a 2-term limit, But his retirement set a significant precedent. Washington is often credited with setting the principle of a two-term presidency. But it was Thomas Jefferson who first refused to run for a third term on political grounds.